Okay, couple of more people here. We've got David Coleman. He had no experience in education. He is known as the architect of the Common Core standards. And after he oversaw the writing, he was the main writer of the ELA, English Language Arts. After he oversaw the writing of the standards in October 2012, he was made president of the College Board. So this is kind of a very big, very corrupt thing that occurred. So he wrote part of the standards and oversaw the writing of the standards in ELA and math. And then, a little bit later, he's in charge of the College Board, which is in charge of the SAT and the ACT and the CLEP and so forth. That means the same person controlling the standards is now also controlling college admittance, which also means that in order to pass the test, all students are de facto required to have Common Core curriculum. And they've always said, oh, it's just standards. It's not a curriculum. It is a curriculum. It has to be, because all the tests are Common Core. And as we know, ACT has been rewritten to the Common Core, and that's what we're using here in Minnesota next year. He said, we have a crisis in education. The main thing on the College Board's agenda is to deliver its social mission. What is the Common Core ideology? This is a quick video that shows exactly what the people in charge of the Common Core have in mind.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have, because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families, and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
And there you have it. Kids are investments. We love our kids, but they're going to be investments now. All right, a little bit about some of what you see all the time from the schools. Today, under the ideology of 21st century learning, the academic model is now threefold. It is a third academics, a third workplace readiness, and a third personal development, values, and behaviors. So our students are now receiving only 1/3 in academic instruction. The remainders are values training and workplace readiness skills that are infused within the subjects. One question we often hear is, are the school's values the same as the family's values? What is the 21st century learning? There are two main ideas that are important. One, globalism and internationalism. We are now being told that we are members of the global society, and therefore our cities, states, and nation have less importance. We are members of the world. How do we connect with everyone in the world? Through the second most important part of the 21st century learning, and that is technology. Via technology, we can connect with others all over the world. Our children, via their iPads or Chromebooks, and schools can receive curriculum written in other countries. Will this curriculum be in line with our family's values? Who is writing the curriculum? Do the teachers get to see the curriculum? Will it be in line with our nation's particular history and political ideology? Constructivism, now the two modes. Constructivism is an ideology that says students construct their own understandings of reality. And that's why we see math examples all over social media that say 4 + 3 is 19. That's okay, as long as you write an essay and tell us how you got there. As long as you can make a good argument for it, it's all right. So facts and truth become less important, and many times are non-existent in some areas. So, okay, we'll go on here. That kind of gives you an idea. Linda Darling Hammond, which could be an Arnie Duncan replacement coming up soon, because a lot of people want to get Arnie Duncan out. She said, social and emotional learning are to be primary classroom implementation practices in the Common Core state standards. Well, a little bit about the math and English folks that validated. There were those that wrote, and there were those that were hired to validate. These were experts. They were all of the same political ideology of the people that wrote the standards, But here in this instance, Dr. Stotsky, who was in charge of writing the standards in Massachusetts, as their commissioner and had the highest standards in the entire U.S., she was on that committee and she refuted the standards as saying they were dumbed down and much worse than most state standards. She said they were never internationally benchmarked, which continues to be a claim on the Common Core Standards website. They were not rigorous, they were not researched, they were not needed. She was one of 3 teachers on the validation committee. All 3 said no to the standards, which is interesting, and they brushed this under the rug a bit. Common Core prevents children from acquiring a rich understanding and use of the English language and may lead to a decreased capacity for analytic thinking, says Dr. Stotsky. How is it different than what we have right now? Just real quick, in elementary, it used to be all classic literature. Now it's 50% classic literature and 50% technical reading, little books to read about little subjects. Technical reading. Sounds very workforce-like to me. In high school, one would think you'd have more classic literature, but you're going to have less. 30% classic literature, 70% technical reading. And this is right from their website. The technical reading consists of small readers. They can be periodicals for current events, technical manuals, and of course government regulations. That's in there as well. For math, Dr. Jim Milgram was on the validation committee, as well as Lev Bohr. Both of them were mathematicians, and they both refuted the standards. Dr. Milgram felt it was a political document written at a very low level. What happens to our math standards? Well, they're going to remove calculus, they're going to remove pre-calc, because they're going to bring algebra up into the 9th and the 10th grade. After years of trying to get Algebra 1 into the 8th grade, they're going to bring it up a bit higher and kind of gate the kids in elementary. They're hoping to have addition, subtraction, all of the algorithms learned by 5th grade. According to Jim Milgram, who is very upset about calculus being taken out of high school, he said it is required to major in engineering, of course, economics, medicine, computer science. And so as we dump down our math, what does that actually mean for all of these schools that we're starting, which are called STEM and STEAM and IB and AP? That's certainly going to affect them. What is Common Core? In our state, it is different things in different districts, but it appears to be all moving the same way. In Minneapolis, we have what's called focused instruction, and this was from an article by Minneapolis Southwest High School principal Bill Smith, who wrote in and said, we have a national curriculum. Now, that's scary as all get out to me. We just don't want to admit it. The teachers, and I am in contact with many of the Minneapolis teachers, they are being forced to teach scripted teacher lesson plans. So we'll let Ron's going to come up.
Thank you, Linda. Now we're going to go into a little bit more depth, take this off of here, and get into some areas a little bit more. Here we have Common Core for babies. Many of you might have thought that Common Core was only K through 12. I'm here to tell you that it is prenatal through 20-year-old is really what they're looking at. There were early learning educators or child development experts involved in writing these reforms. Why do we need Common Core for babies? It's to meet the objectives of the world's best workforce. Because all children must be ready for first grade via their standardized testing for kindergarten. So we're going to do standardized testing to get into kindergarten. All must be ready to read by grade 3. Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge grants were accepted by Minnesota in 2011 by the executive branch. Both the governor and the Department of Education commissioner are the ones that did that. This program is for prenatal through 5th grade and includes home visit programs, which are already occurring in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Itasca County, and the White Earth Indian Reservation. Earlier learning programs will be required to be aligned to the curriculum and to early learning standards. We have pending legislation right now to validate the home visit programs in the legislature. Included is universal preschool or preschool for all. This initiative will enable all 4-year-olds be able to go into government preschool programs. We will have pending legislation again in early childhood policy education committees. This is titled Universal Preschool. And as you know, kindergarten in Minnesota was changed unilaterally this past year so that every district is required to have all-day kindergarten. Here we have one of the easy Common Core math questions that's out there. Hopefully you can read it. They're asking for 427 minus 316. And what they're anticipated to do is to write an essay on Jack here, because Jack has an example of how he completed this. And we're supposed to help Jack determine what he did right and what he did wrong. And in here, all students are supposed to master their algorithms and their facts, but it will take them about 2 years longer based on this new math than it currently does. So this parent, who happens to be an electronical engineer, wrote back a letter regarding how he sees it. He has a bachelor's of science degree in electronic engineering, which includes extensive work and studies of differential equations and other higher math. Even I cannot explain the common mathematics approach, nor get the correct answer. In the real world, simplification is valued over complexity. Therefore, the answer is solved in under 5 seconds. The process used is ridiculous and will result in termination under his employment. Next, we go into one of our favorite subjects, which is aligned here, which is the National Sexuality Standards. This book, it's perfectly normal, is listed in the Common Core recommended list of readings. Presently, we're aware of 13 districts in Minnesota teaching this at 5th grade and up. They include Hopkins, Osseo, South Washington, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Bloomington, just to name a few. Some nationally are teaching this down at 2nd grade, and we've got a copy of it up here. You cannot put any of this material up on the internet. It is considered pornography. It's also, by the FBI, considered to be pedophile material. You can be arrested. Fortunately, our legislators throughout the country have exempted all educators from these rules. Therefore, it is legal in all elementary, secondary schools in the nation, including Minnesota. Next is a little bit of a homework assignment from the West St. Paul, Mendota Heights, Egan District on lengthening the school year before it's too late. The assignment states that we are in a race against all other countries. We want to be number 1, of course. So we should spend more time at school so we can win. School psychologists and doctorate agree that children are happier, healthier, and better behaved when they have a regular schedule, like when they are in school. There is a solution. Students should be in school longer days, longer weeks, and longer calendar years. This worksheet mirrors the Minnesota Noble Child Left Behind waiver, which was signed.